Hey everybody, so today I've once again branched out of my comfort zone. Today we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. It is written and directed by Fede Álvarez. The film stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Renu, Isabella Mercedes, Spike Fern, and Eileen Wu, taking place between Alien and Aliens. While scavenging the deep ends of an abandoned space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. From what the marketing seemed like, this film had a lot to live up to and managed to walk that line between homage and innovation almost flawlessly. But before we get into any of that, don't worry, this will be a spoiler-free review followed by my rating, and then after that, we'll get into some spoilers. I'll leave the timestamp down below in the description for you too. Please also make sure to hit the subscribe button, it'll really help the channel out a lot. Let's get into Alien Romulus. Starting with the positives, Alien Romulus truly shines in its atmosphere. Before watching this movie, I had only watched the original Alien, and I initially planned on filming this review immediately after, but I eventually ended up watching Aliens before filming this video, so I may not have a ton of knowledge about the entire franchise and lore, but after watching these three movies back to back to back, I'll just have a little bit more appreciation for Romulus after watching Aliens and Alien. Ridley Scott and James Cameron are amazing filmmakers. Whenever I saw that Fede Álvarez was behind this one, I was extremely excited. Álvarez masterfully recreates the claustrophobic tension that made Ridley Scott's original Alien so iconic. The production design is gritty and feels lived in, giving us that grimy industrial sci-fi aesthetic that everyone loves from the best of this franchise. The film's visuals are stunning, beautifully crafted sets, and pretty immersive effects. It brings the xenomorphs back to life in a way that's both familiar and fresh. Next positive is the cast. Kaylee Spaney is pretty much the star of the show. She leads the pack with a performance that's both vulnerable and fierce. Her character feels grounded and actually someone that you can genuinely root for as the story unfolds. Same can't be said for everybody else. The supporting cast, including David Johnson and Eileen Wu, all deliver solid performances, bringing their characters to life with depth and nuance. A few other good things that I can think of in this movie: the effects. There is CGI here and there, but it's not too bad. Luckily, it seems like they went back to the practical effects with just a little bit of hints of CGI here and there, so really appreciated that. Another thing that I really liked in this movie, so I wasn't aware at first that Andy was an android, which android, you get it. But basically, this was a robot on the edge of my seat, did not want him to die. Realistically, we really shouldn't give a shit about it's a robot. But all right, now my final positive for this movie before I get into the okay and the bad. This may come up a little bit in the spoiler section in more detail, but how the movie was misleading in a way. The movie was very unpredictable for me, at least until a certain point. Moving on, now let's talk about where the film's just okay. So it takes just a little bit too long to get into the action. The first act can feel like a bit of a slog as it builds up the story and introduces the characters. Some might find this pacing deliberate like I did and effective, but other audience members could feel like it's a little bit too drawn out, which I fully understand. The plot, while simple, does work in the film's favor. It's a straightforward story of survival, and while it doesn't reinvent the wheel, obviously, it does offer enough twists and turns to keep you engaged. However, the simplicity of the plot also means it can feel a bit predictable at times, especially for people that have seen the other Alien movies. There's a clear attempt to draw parallels from the original Alien film, especially in the way the xenomorph is reintroduced, but it also does it in a way that feels like a love letter to the first movie, so you can't really be too mad at it. Unfortunately, there are some flaws with this movie. One of my main gripes is with the character dynamics. There's an asshole character in this group who's just an asshole for the sake of it. It feels pretty forced. His hostility towards the others doesn't add much to the story. It's like, who the fuck invited you? Why are you here? Instead of being a complex antagonist, he just comes off as a one-dimensional jerk. It's a trope that could have been handled with more subtlety, but I promise you, the movie does give you a really nice payoff. Another issue is the film's tone. It tries to be a mix of horror and action, which, after watching the first two Alien movies, I would say that Aliens is probably the best movie I've seen that mixes the horror and action genres together. This one sometimes struggles to balance the two. Horror elements are there, and they don't always hit as hard as they should, which is unfortunate because there are some really good effects and very good music and sound design that accompanies them. It's a little bit frustrating that they don't always stick the landing. And the action sequences, they can feel a little bit underwhelming compared to the first two Alien movies, especially Aliens, but in the end, I think that the action sequences were done perfectly fine. Great climax and great ending though, so no complaints there. As for my overall thoughts, I would say that Alien Romulus is an above average mixed bag. It's got a lot going for it: the atmosphere, the performances, the effects, and some genuinely tense moments, but it also stumbles with its pacing, character development, and dynamics with the tonal inconsistencies. For diehard fans of the franchise, you are going to love this. There's so much here to enjoy, lots of fan service done in the right way. Maybe because I haven't seen the other films besides the original and the second movie, the fan service that's talked about didn't come off too forced, but I haven't seen any of the others yet, so this film feels very much like a love letter to the original. But for others, it might not be the game changer you're hoping for. I would give Alien Romulus a solid 7 out of 10. Alright guys, if you're still with me and you've seen the movie or you just don't give a shit about spoilers, stick around because we're about to dive into the spoiler-filled section. If not, thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So this isn't really going to be a breakdown per se, more so just things I loved in the film that I couldn't say in the actual review. First of all, the series, from what I've seen so far, and this one, are really good at that blend of horror and sci-fi action. One of my favorite sequences in the film has to be the anti-gravity scene where our characters are forced to swim through the station, dodging xenomorph acid blood. The tension here is perfect, and it's a brilliant set piece that highlights the terror of the xenomorphs. Another standout moment is the fake out with Tyler's sister Kay. Now, I had gone over it a little bit in the spoiler-free part of my review, but this really took me off guard because in the beginning, it makes it look like Kay is probably gonna, she's pregnant, nothing's gonna happen to the pregnant character. First, it looks like she's gonna be fine, and the other characters, besides Rain, you can kind of take your pick. All of these characters seem just a little bit expendable. But this movie did a great job at shifting the focus and making it look like Kay was gonna be safe at first, and the movie kind of pulls the rug out of you, and it looks like she dies, like barely midway through the movie. And then the movie pulls another rug out from you, and just when you think Kay is about to meet her end, it decides to kill off Tyler instead. And it's just such a shocking twist that kept me on my toes personally, because the gut punch comes later whenever Kay, who we think is actually gonna make it, ends up being killed by the grotesque alien hybrid baby. It's brutal and it's unforgiving. The movie did a great job of it. Speaking of the hybrid baby, the final act was great. The parallels to the original Alien are very obvious whenever Rain is in her pajamas and, about to Cairo, but some shit's about to pop up. The creature was gnarly. It had some pretty gross body horror whenever Kay gives birth to it. Apparently the baby hybrid is similar to something from Resurrection. Some thought the hybrid was silly. I didn't mind it at all. Those are the things that I think of whenever you think of like humanoid creature things that you see hanging out in the woods. The birth of the mutant in the final moments is somewhat expected, but in a way, a fitting end to the film that plays with the themes of survival and evolution. This movie seemed to end multiple times. I thought the movie was gonna end with Andy and Rain actually dying, and Kay, who was in the ship already, was gonna get taken back to the planet that they were on with the baby hybrid thing that she was pregnant with and she didn't know. Then I thought that the movie was just gonna end with her, Kay, and Andy just kind of chilling and going off into space. I should have known that one wasn't gonna happen. These things are like gum getting stuck to the bottom of your shoe. They will just not quit. In the end though, Rain of course saves the day. Rain was a more than capable final girl and definitely earned her survival by the end of the movie. The deaths in this movie were actually pretty chill compared to what I expected we were gonna get. The chestburster scene with Navarro's character was pretty standard. Tyler's death was, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tyler's death was off screen. It was very quick. The asshole dude just gets acid blood dripped on him, but you barely see any of the acid blood really like doing any damage. It didn't show us fully, and I took issue with that. Not sorry. Kay's death is probably the worst one in my opinion. She had that thing bust out of her chest and stomach. While some of the deaths in this movie may not live up to some of the other gnarlier deaths in the previous films, the deaths in this movie are all pretty solid. Fede Álvarez did a really good job at crafting this movie. Alien Romulus isn't a perfect film by any means, but it is a worthy addition to the franchise for sure. It takes some risks and offers some really great moments of tension and adds a few new elements to the series lore while retaining that familiarity of the franchise. But it's also a film that might leave some viewers wanting more, or maybe something a little bit different. Yes, this is a fan service movie, but this is an example on how to do one properly. If you would like to see a bad example of a fan service movie, Scream 5 and 6 are actually both available to stream on Paramount+. I'm just kidding. The lackluster quality of the radio silent Scream movies is a topic for a different video. Alright guys, so that pretty much wraps up this review. Have you seen Alien Romulus? Did it live up to your expectations? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to like and share, and I'll see you in the next one.